You better turn up. You better be there when I shake. Watch me rocking if I can't stop. If I should fall, just go ahead. Go and catch me, baby. Ooh, I live it. That's my choo-choo-la. Ooh, I love it. Crank it up, yeah, yeah. Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it up, we got this.
Hello, beautiful creatives. Welcome back to Beginner's Mind, Art Mind. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're a new viewer, I am Linda Marcel, and welcome to my channel, Beginner's Mind, Art Mind. I have a good week for you this week if you're feeling the need to be creatively inspired, which I was. I sort of was in the doldrums this week, so I pulled out my Nell Blaine book, which I have showed you guys before, and I did another Nell Blaine painting. Then what I did was I took out some of my other journals that I have Nell Blaine paintings in. I do side-by-side views so that you can see my version next to Nell Blaine's original paintings. And I love her. I love this book. I show you some of the paintings in this book. And I also show you the week's paintings that I did in my magic journal, my Art Heals journal. So I'll let you see what I was up to this week in this journal. And then I have a huge, let me see if I can turn you around here, stack of art journals pulled out on my desk. And hope I didn't make you dizzy by spinning. I have some questions about what I have planned for those journals and see what your thoughts are on them. So there's a lot of content in this video, but especially for people who are feeling a little stuck, maybe going through some stressful life circumstances and really don't feel like you can pull up the energy or the creative inspiration to paint. Nell Blaine always does it for me, and I encourage you in this video to find an artist that does it for you and to pull out a book and do some master copies or master studies. I like to call them master studies because I never really do copy. But yeah, so let's dig right into it. Hope you enjoy this week's video. Since the whole idea behind my Beginner's Mind, Art Mind channel is to inspire people who are going through challenging life situations to create through them, despite maybe not having the energy or the desire to create, because I firmly believe that it helps with the healing process. So, having said that, today is one of those days where I really did not feel like I could create. I spent most of the day in bed yesterday. The longer we stay in the house, the worse I seem to feel. I'm having trouble breathing. I really need to get out of this house, but we're doing the best we can. Anyways, so this is me showing up on a day when, if it wasn't for you guys and this YouTube channel, I would be in serious danger of not showing up. This was my gratitude page, journaling page, and, just a really loose watercolor abstracted landscape for the painting in the magic journal. So I did do that, and I actually found a bit to be thankful for today on my gratitude page, so that was encouraging. So I did that, and I did want to paint. I do feel a desire to paint. I'm just so exhausted and so depressed and feeling so crappy that I don't feel like I have the energy to. So this is going to sound really crazy, but if you've watched my videos for long enough, you know that I have a few videos where I have painted, I have done Nell Blaine studies. I've painted from her book, done master copies of her paintings, and then I'm a massive fan of, artists like Jane Freilich, Fairfield Porter, Nell Blaine, different era, but Suzanne Valadon, I just really love these loose still lives and landscapes that she does. So I drew this out this morning, and I had planned on doing it in either acrylic or gouache, which would be acrylic gouache or regular acrylic, which would be so easy because it's so forgiving and I could go back to it and back to it. She did it in watercolor. I am not that skilled of a watercolorist. That is a challenging watercolor. I'm standing here like knowing how much easier it would be to paint this in acrylic or gouache, but I'm almost thinking of trying it in watercolor. And it's either going to frustrate the ever-loving heck out of me and make me feel worse, or it's going to be such a challenge that it will distract me and get me out of this awful funk that I'm in. And, you know, maybe cheer me up or whatever, but it would be a great distraction. I'm kind of chicken, though, because I'm looking at this and it's like, watercolor? Are you kidding me? So I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to make up my mind as to whether I'm going to do it in acrylic gouache, acrylic, or watercolor. And you will find out which I did when I come back on. Stay tuned. So I did do it in watercolor, and it was challenging. It's no Nell Blaine, but it really did help pull me out of my funk and pass the day. And it was a fun challenge with watercolor. I would like to do it again with acrylic gouache or acrylic, but I'm pretty darn proud of myself for tackling it with watercolor. That took quite a while. It looks really dark in this viewfinder. Let me set it on my easel and see if it shows up better. Okay, there it is on my easel. This is the Big Moleskin sketchbook. That's what I painted this in, my big moleskin. And I haven't painted a Nell Blaine painting in a while, or did a study of a Nell Blaine painting in a while. I think I have 1 or 2 videos that have master copies I did of her work. If I can find them, I will link them either here on a card here or on an end card of the video. I did change a few things. I can never seem to do a master copy without personalizing it a little bit. I'm really happy I stepped up to the challenge on a day that I wasn't feeling well. And of course, I see a ton of things that I could have done differently, but honestly, that's not the point for me at all. The point is that I showed up and I really challenged myself when I wasn't feeling well. So there it is. Another Nell Blaine master copy. And I'm really proud of myself that I pushed myself to do it, because it really took me out of my problems and took my attention away from not feeling good today. It really helped a lot. I'm exhausted. It actually took a lot of energy to paint that. It's from the same book that I've done my other Nell Blaine master copies from. Matter of fact, I think one of them is in this sketchbook, so I will flip it around and show you the other Nell Blaine painting that I did in this sketchbook. So that's the other Nell Blaine master copy I did, and this was done in acrylic. And I do think I have a video where I show this one at least, but this one I absolutely love. That was so much fun to paint. My dog is coughing downstairs. But anyways, yep, that was a lot of fun to paint. That one was a lot of fun to paint too. My poor dog, I don't know if you can hear her coughing down there, but We have to take her to the vet tomorrow. She has a really bad cough. Okay, so that's that one for today. Okay, so I probably didn't find them all, but I did grab a few of my art journals that have some of the Nell Blaine paintings that I've done over the year. And where possible, I'll show you her original painting in this book about her. So the first one is not in the book, and it is that one. And the thing that I love the most about Nell Blaine's paintings is most of her paintings are so loose, you can't even tell what she's painting in parts. So you really are restricted to just painting value shapes, which it was such a great exercise. So I've really enjoyed that because as you'll see in some of these, it's hard to distinguish what she's actually painting. She's so loose. Okay, so I think that's the only one in this sketchbook. And then in this one, there is this winter scene. And, you know, when I do studies of artists' paintings, I never say that I'm doing a master copy because it's never my intention. There's such value in doing a master copy, but you know, those of you who know the purpose behind my channel know that's not what it's about for me. It's about immersing yourself in the creative experience as a means of healing, almost as a meditation. So you'll see that my renditions tend to stray from hers, and I often go off and do my own thing, but they're heavily inspired by the artist that I'm studying. So that's my version of the winter one. Let's see if I can find it in here. Okay, and there's her version. So I'll put them side by side. This is looking kind of reflective. But you can see how I strayed. I think this is supposed to be a cottage down there, and I didn't put that in. I made quite a few changes in this. I'm actually really happy with how my version came out. But you can see how heavily it was influenced by Nell's painting. Okay, so that's that one. Then there's this one may not be in this book either, which is too bad. I wish it was. Love to show you the original. Ah, it is in here. Great. Great, great, great. Okay, so there is Nell's original. I almost said Nell's version, right? She's the original artist. And there is my version. So there is Nell's. And look how loosely she painted these flowers. It's just remarkable to me. And yet it reads so true. Such a fan of hers. I read a quote somewhere yesterday. Gosh, I wish I had written down what artist said it. I can't remember. I'll try to remember. But he's talked about loose painting and how so many artists get it wrong because he said loose still follows the rules. It still has the wisdom of art behind it. And he said loose is not messy. And that's where he says a lot of artists fail in trying to create loose paintings because they just paint messy paintings and they aren't paying attention to leading the eye around the painting, to values, shapes, and you know, the things that really are still important in a painting, even though it's loose. And that's why it's so valuable to do studies of an artist's paintings that you admire and to learn where they're being really loose and where they're being just tight enough to let you know what the subject is. So that is my version of Nell's lilies. And I'm not even sure. Let's see. It's called rubrum lily. And it was painted in 1980. It's oil on canvas, 24 by 20 inches. The original. So that's my version. And then I think there's one more in here. Oh yes, this one. Let's see if this one is in here. Nope. It's not that one. Maybe it's not that one. I hope it's in here. May as well let you have a look while I'm flipping through at her amazing work. Ah, there it is. And this one, I did post in a video before, and I made a really funny mistake in it. And I asked you guys in the video when I originally posted it, might have been last year or something, I don't remember, a year or two ago, to see if you could find the mistake, and some of you did. So this is Nell's version, this is Nell's original painting. And it was done in, it's called Interior at Quaker Hill 2, 1968 oil on canvas, 40 by 50 inches. And here is my version of it. As you can see, I edited out a lot of the stuff on the table. And I'll give you a second to see if you can find the big mistake I made. I remember getting really tired towards the end of this painting and kind of abandoning it a little bit. It's gouache. I should have said that. I think so far everything I've showed you I have done in gouache. And this is probably a regular gouache because it's before I started using acrylic gouache, before I even discovered acrylic gouache. Anyways, the really funny mistake I made was not reading the shadow correctly. I was tired at the end and I hadn't put the shadow in, and I just did the X like you think of on a deck between the posts. And I didn't read that properly, which gives you the clue that I had stopped paying attention. I had stopped looking and I was trying to rush my way through the painting. But still, I love it. It was a great session, great practice. I really enjoyed doing this study. I've never done a study of a Nell Blaine painting that I haven't enjoyed. So that is that one. And then I thought I would pull this sketchbook back out and just show you side by side the ones that I did in the big book. Let's see. Okay, so this is a big one. I don't know if I can show them side by side, but this is my version that I showed you earlier. And this is Nell's version. Both of these books are heavy. That's Nell's version of the painting. And there were many shapes, like in the portrait on the easel, that I didn't understand. And sort of this outside, I couldn't quite figure out what was going on here until I was really halfway through painting these items. I realized that this is probably a part of the house that's showing, and this is a post. Originally, I thought that was a tree, but there's probably like a little porch out here. So even if you're confused by the artist's original painting and you're not sure what you're looking at, if you just paint the shapes that you see, eventually it'll probably come together and you'll understand better what you're painting. This probably is one of my all-time favorite paintings. I really enjoyed doing it. It's in gouache, and oh my gosh. Yeah, I just loved every second of this painting. It was really fun. My husband likes to point out that I forgot to put in one of the back table legs, but that's actually not the case. She only has 2 table legs. What I did was not bring this close enough, which is probably covering that back leg there. So I didn't bring this down close enough, but none of that bothers me. I love this painting. So there's that one. And there's this watercolor that I did that I love, love, love. So happy I did this, that I pulled myself together to do this painting. And let's see, where is it in Nell's book? There it is. Okay, so there is the original. It was Evening Table Carlap, 1984 watercolor, 10 by 14 inches. Oh, that's too bad. Present whereabouts unknown. Huh, such a lovely painting. It's sad that they don't know where it is. But that's her version, her original. I think it's funny that I keep calling them versions. But that's her original, and this is my take on it. Really happy with it. Love it. Very happy with it. Okay, so that is a tour of those. These are a contour drawing that I did and a Neocolor 2 drawing that I did the day before I did the watercolor, when I just was still feeling down and, you know, really low energy. I just went at this with Posca. I actually did this on the back of this, and I caused some damage, which made me really sad. I did not go through, but there are some buckles. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Doesn't look like it's showing up, but the Posca, okay, so it was a bullet tip Posca, I believe, that I used on this, and it did not do so well on this moleskin paper. It kind of carved into the paper. You know, I just wanted to kind of be rough and do this really almost blind contour. It wasn't totally blind contour, but, and I wanted to let the pen run, but it kind of ate up the paper. The Neocolor 2 worked beautifully on the paper. It's just the coloring. You know, I'm not that big into drawing tools. I've talked about that before on some of my mixed media videos where I use the Luminance Caran d'Ache and the Tombow pens. But it's really fun for me to do once in a while. And sometimes when I'm really not feeling well, reverting to the coloring and sort of contour drawing, it's like it brings back that childhood creativity experience. It's very meditative and relaxing. And it's so easy to stay primitive. So I really enjoyed that. The other thing I will mention about this watercolor is this paper was horrible for watercolor. I love doing gouache on this paper. I love doing acrylics. I love working on it both gessoed and not gessoed. I didn't have any watercolor ground, so I just painted on this plane. It was a nightmare. You set your watercolor down and you really have no ability to go back in and work. And anywhere where I tried to pull up for my highlight, you know, you take a thirsty brush and you go into your wet watercolor to pull up for a highlight, the paper just started to crumble. It just started to pill up. So there was no reworking anything, which I have to say, on the other hand, really helps you to stay loose. That's it. You put a mark down and you're not lifting it back up. It's not like some of the other papers I've worked on where you can endlessly lift and, you know, sort of erase the watercolor with water and put it back in. This stayed very fresh because you cannot go over it with too many layers. So that was a blessing. Okay, so here's what I have gotten done in the Magic Journal so far this week. Today's Wednesday, so I haven't completed the week. Let's see, where did I drop off here? Oh yes, I remember showing you the deer. And then I did some loose hydrangeas in watercolor. I always think these look so overexposed if I don't put them on black. There, that's much better. At least the way it looks in the camera. Okay, so loose hydrangeas I did on the 26th. I guess I did them both on the 26th. This was my gratitude, my thoughts for the day. Okay, this day, I'm just wondering if anything, this was done on, oh, I didn't date this one. Oh yeah, 8/27. 8/27, so this was the same day. So just feeling pretty awful, took a nap. I'm still crazy tired. I feel inspired by ideas, but too tired to act on them. Yeah, something I've been struggling with. I almost feel a little odd about talking about this, but I have been really struggling with posting the GoFundMe posts where my husband and I are asking for donations to help us get out of this house, find a safe place to build a safe place to live, and then remediate this house. I think I've told you guys we're talking about over $125,000 for the whole process. And then we'll need to buy new furniture and all that sort of stuff because we can't bring the furniture with us. So I have had a lot of shame about posting those posts and begging what I feel like I call them my begging posts. It says posted my begging posts for GoFundMe all over the internet, and that always leaves me exhausted. I have had a lot of shame that I've had to work through with that. So this day that I came up to do my painting, I had just done that. I had posted them on Instagram and Facebook, and I was feeling that shameful feeling of sort of begging for money, begging for people to help us. And I did a watercolor on here, and it just wasn't working. Even intuitively, intuitive work doesn't have to be pretty, but I did not feel like it wasn't feeling productive. And it doesn't always have to feel productive, but that day I needed it to. I needed to express something that I was having difficulty expressing. So then I kept going over it with thicker bits of watercolor. And then I got out a Posca pen and started adding some of the white areas. And then I went and got out my Liquitex paint markers. I got out these big, huge Liquitex paint markers that I have. I keep them in these little bags. I have a link to these on one of my videos, those little bags. But anyways, I got these out and I went over the watercolor with them. And they actually went over the watercolor really well. They blended with it a little bit, which was kind of cool. And then if I didn't want them blendy, I could just do a final layer after the underlayer dried and it would come out clear. This worked for me for whatever reason. It looks like a hot mess to me. I think it's really ugly. I don't think it's pretty. I don't think it has really any aesthetic value, but it worked. The process of me struggling and then working and then breaking through with these and just, the big markers. There's something about working with these big markers. And by the time I finished this, I felt so much better. So if your creative process is feeling frustrating to you in the beginning when you're really trying to work through difficult emotions or feelings in your body, keep going and don't be afraid to pull out other supplies. If this hadn't worked for me, I could have pulled out acrylic paint and I could have gessoed over the whole page and started over until I felt like whatever it was that I needed to express had been expressed. That's all it's about, not what it looks like. So this worked for me. So this has value to me and meaning to me when I look at it. Don't care what it looks like. It worked. It did its job. So, and then my gratitude thoughts and just all I had energy for that day was this little sort of expressive watercolor. Literally just a few strokes with a few different colors and then scratched into it. And that was it for 8/28. That was all I had. And it was fine. I felt good about it. I felt good about it being very light. I felt good about it being quick. It expressed what I needed it to express. Gratitude, thoughts, and then this little landscape. I think I was getting more in my head with this. than I wanted to. I still was able to step back a little bit and stay, stay in that sort of creative mode. But as soon as I felt like I was starting to get fussy with it, which felt like when I looked at it, I felt like I didn't like the color I had used back here. And I was thinking about, I started to try to wipe some of it out, and I was going to go over it. And this is really crappy drawing paper. It's just like the cheapest, so it's not going to tolerate any work. And I realized when I started to go back into it and try to change things that wasn't what it was about. I was getting too fussy. So I made myself stop. I made myself put down the brush and just stop and just allow this to be what it was. And that worked. That was the perfect thing to do for me, was just to step away from it and let that painting be what it was, and it served its purpose for the day. This is the day that we rushed my dog to the vet and found out that the thing that was making her ill was the mold, which is heartbreaking. We're still trying to raise some more funds to build this little building. It's a tiny building. It's actually the size of the building that we're building to move into for the winter, while we try to raise money to remediate this house, is the size of this studio I'm in. So it's like 380 square feet or something like that. It's very small for 2 creative people with 3 dogs. But it's going slow. We need to raise more money to complete it. At this point, it's looking like it's not going to have running water, which would be a real challenge through the winter. So we need to try to come up with a grant or some funds for a well. Anyway, that if we can't get Posey, my little Posey girl, out of the studio, then we may have to reach out and rehome her, which would really be a heartbreaking thing. That feels like the mold has taken so much away from us. To lose one of our dogs would be heartbreaking. But you guys have heard her in the videos. I joke about it in the videos, her breathing in the studio. She does definitely have trouble breathing in this house. So when she's outside, she feels better. But we may reach out and find out if somebody can foster her. But that was bad news for that day. And that day was, let's see, today's the 31st. So that was yesterday. We took her to the vet the day before. Yesterday, I sobbed I just sobbed all day. It was just, all of it was too much, and it came crashing down on me. And Posey being sick, we have to medicate her with 2 different medications, an allergy medication and a cough medication, that keep her absolutely drugged and knocked out. So, and there were some other things that happened that were really sad yesterday. So I did not do a painting yesterday when I did this. Yes, that's right. I remember when I did this, I didn't feel like I could even do a painting. And I think I did go and take a nap again, and came up much later in the day, and this girl showed up. So I don't know. Go figure. I don't know where she came from. Gouache. All of a sudden, I just got out my little gouache set and painted hers. There was more to this than meets the eye, more than just a pretty girl painting. There was a lot of emotion in this. So I'm really glad that I did come back up and give it a second try in the afternoon, even though I felt like I couldn't paint in the morning. So that brings me to think about something that people ask that I haven't talked about before. So let me move the camera around and I'll chat about a couple of things. Okay, so there's certain questions that seem to pop up a lot. It's mostly from people who don't follow my channel or haven't followed it for long. And I thought it might be nice to try to clear things up and answer some of those questions. What I should probably do is write them down and do a video every once in a while. I have to tell you, it is another day where it's like 1,000,000 degrees up here and 100% humidity. I think it's actually 97% humidity. So I will try to limit the hair flipping, but it's another sweaty day. So bear with me on that. Okay, so let's see. The purpose, if you read my channel description, which I actually should reread. I haven't read it in a couple of years, probably, since I wrote it. But the purpose of Beginner's Mind, Art Mind, is not necessarily to teach you how to do what I'm doing. Because when you have a chronic illness, or any, so my experience in life is chronic illness. But other people's experience or challenge in life may be going through grief or acute illness, acute injury, pain issues, trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma. I mean, there's so many things that can get locked in your body and that can make your life extremely difficult and can perpetuate really severe bouts of depression, very deep, very dark, and very dangerous bouts of depression if you don't have an outlet, a way to release them. So I use my art journals for that. And I never really know what I'm going to do. I don't plan. I actually don't plan my YouTube videos. They're very spontaneous. I know, a lot of these places recommend that you have a script and that you plan it out. It's just not what my channel's about. My channel is purely about stimulating your creative juices in as many ways as possible, through watching how I move through severe bouts of depression and chronic illness. And now, I mean, actually what I'm going through right now, right in front of you guys, losing our house and our belongings because of toxic mold in our house. And now my dog is very ill. And we may need to rehome her. This is like the perfect, what do they call it in Buddhism? It's just grist for the mill, the perfect time to practice being in the moment and using creativity to help you navigate. That's where the videos that I do, where I do intuitive art, are really helpful, because it's not about making a pretty painting. And I probably need to do some more of those videos. I actually have a sketchbook over there. I'm going to talk to you about my sketchbooks in a minute. I have a sketchbook over there that is an intuitive sketch art journal. It's made of a repurposed book, and I would really love to fill it up before I have to pack up all my sketchbooks and then maybe not see them for quite a while, if ever again. I don't know if I'll tolerate them at the end of the mold treatment. I would love to fill it with just really spontaneous, expressive, intuitive art. So that may be something I'll do a couple of videos on. But here are some of the questions that have come up so recently. So people have asked me, can you go back and do a tutorial on this specific painting in your art journal? I don't do tutorials for a number of reasons. Partly because my work is, even when I do a painting where I'm studying something or I'm doing a still life, it's still pretty intuitive. I don't plan that process out. I sort of work intuitively through the process. So it would be really hard to teach. What I do are process videos where you can watch me paint and you can glean from that, your own intuitive inspiration and see the techniques that I'm doing, and then sort of try it on your own. You could even try to paint side by side with some of my process paintings, but I don't really do tutorials. And there are so many channels out there that do tutorials, but I don't think there's that many channels out there that help encourage people with chronic illness to just create and to not like have to copy me, not to have to be so stuck with what I'm doing that's the only way that you can create. I don't want you to have to follow me. I want you to have a sketchbook and be able to open it any morning, no matter how bad you feel or how good you feel, and be able to produce something in there that's going to carry you so deeply into the creative process that you will, at least for a moment, forget how bad you feel or how sad you are or how anxiety ridden you are or what life event that you're trying to navigate. It's just your time. It's your creation. It's your creative process that's important, not what I'm creating. So it's important, I think, that I don't set this channel up in a way that kind of gets you addicted to copying me. And plus, a lot of you are way better artists than I am, so you don't need to copy me. So I hope it answers some of your questions, and I hope it helps people understand what this is about, because I hate for people to watch and be disappointed that I'm not saying what every sketchbook paperweight is. That's a lot when I get, somebody shouted at me a week or two ago saying, you're missing really important details in your videos. It's basically making your videos valueless because you're not including important information like the weight of the paper. Is it cold pressed or hot pressed? But I think those of you who follow me get that that has nothing to do with the creative process. It has nothing to do with encouraging you guys and myself to be creative when we're going through difficult times. And I tend to think, like, on days when I'm really not feeling good, like lately, I think it's really good to have me push myself to create, and also to show you guys what that's like. Like, yeah, sometimes I would rather be in bed. I feel really horrible, but I show up and I smile for you guys, and I make a painting, and then after the painting, I have worked myself through the process. The creative process has done its job, and I actually feel better for it. So, okay, so that's a lot of rambling, as I tend to seem to do in these videos. Sorry about that, guys. Now let's talk about the stack of journals that are over there. I'm going to take you over to the other table. I was flipping through some of those journals, and I came across this one, and there's another Nell Blaine study that I did of that painting. So that's my version and her version. Fun paintings to do. This one's tiny. This is a tiny, tiny painting. So this is the majority of my sketchbooks. There's a few that aren't here, that are downstairs and in other areas. There's some really old ones that are packed away, but and stored in boxes in the basement. But this is the majority of the journals that I have in my studio. And what I am going to do, and I hope it doesn't feel redundant for my longtime viewers, the plan is, I don't know if I'll actually get through this, but the plan is to re-video every single journal that you see here to music with no talking, just to do, and like, I don't know how many will fit in a video, a reasonably timed video. It might be 2, it might be 3 on a smaller journal, it might be 4. And all of these journals in this pile are incomplete. They're at various stages of completion. So I'm actually even going to put those all into a video. And I may start with those, I'm not sure. The reason that I'm doing this is so that I have a personal record of my art journals on video in case I do end up never being able to be around them again because of the mold issue that's causing us to move out of our house. I need some kind of record that I can look back on. And honestly, at this point, I'm thinking photographing or scanning every single page is just not possible. I don't feel well enough to do that. It would be very tedious, and time-wise, I just can't imagine how much time that would take. So if I do a video, I will at least have a video record of everything that is in these journals that I want to look back on in case I can't have them again. And, you know, if there's a certain painting that I want to revisit to copy or redo, which I never really do that, but if I did, I could always screenshot the video. So that's what I think I'm going to do. How I'm going to work this into my weekly YouTube videos is not clear to me yet. And I would be curious to know what your thoughts are. Like, should I do this as my regular weekly video, maybe every other week, or would it feel too redundant if you've already seen a flip through on some of these journals? And should I do it just separately from my weekly videos? I don't know how I'm going to work that out yet, but I would be interested in hearing your thoughts on, yeah, please go, even if you know, you've seen them before, you'd be happy to see them again, and you love the idea of them just being to music, or if you're like, nah, I wouldn't want to watch the weeks if it was a journal flip through you've already done. So let me know that, because that's good information for me to have in planning how I'm going to do this get this all on video, and then if I'm going to share those videos with you guys or just make them private. I don't know. We'll have to see have to see what you guys think and how it all pans out for me. But I got them all out and put them on the table to motivate me to get started so that I will actually do this. I think I have to at least video some of these again so that I have just a clean video of just the journals with no talking. Okay, so let me know what you think about that. So this is my beautiful little posy girl who has to go to a new home. And we're so sad about it, but the mold in the house is making her sick. So she needs to go to a safe place where she can live mold free. Yeah, so we've talked to the breeders that gave her to us, and they are looking into a home for her on Cape Cod. We love her very much, and it's going to be very heartbreaking to say goodbye. She's a sweet, sweet girl, and you have seen her in the videos, and you have heard her heavy breathing in the videos over the last few years. So I thought I'd bring her on here to say goodbye. I'm not sure how much longer she'll be here, but she's going to be going to a new home soon. She's a good girl. Okay, so that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it left you feeling a little inspired to dig through your art books or look up different artists online and find one that really inspires you. And on a day when you may feel like you just can't create art, try to look at some of their paintings and do some master studies. You'd be amazed at how immersed you can get into the process and how much it can lift your spirits and lift your energy. So I hope it leaves you feeling a little more inspired than when you started. And I'd love to have you tag me on Instagram if you do some master studies so I can see what artists inspire you. The link to my Instagram account is below the video and in my bio on YouTube. So have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.